This conference will now be recorded.
Happy New Year to all those who are on the call and visiting our rebroadcast. I'm Joe Hage, and I'll be your host today because we're going to talk about marketing and strategy and kicking off the year right. And I'll blather a bit, and you guys ask me anything you want that has to do with strategy or communication or lead gen or making 2020 better than 2019. I'm happy to do all that. So I'm starting here because as early as today, but who are we kidding? Probably tomorrow, I'm going to launch this site. I'm excited about it. And this is for Brent Lang, who, hi Jan, who
Hello.
you've all met, I think most of you. And he's coming to market with what I think is an incredible revolution in diagnostics for urology. Basically, remote patient monitoring is here, and no one is leveraging it this way for urology. The problem that he's solving is, and we say this on the homepage, so I'm starting here not only as a humble brag about how great I am in making the site, but to show you that the decisions that we made to market him were centered on what his preferred audience is for this site. So right now, Brent is going to do extremely well with this. And it's, frankly, I don't think I'm talking out of turn to say, not a matter of if, but when and who will pay how much to acquire his company. So as we built this, we very much thought about strategics, visiting and thinking, does this fit in our portfolio? So this is somewhat bold, and I was pleased when he accepted the recommendation and went with it. I'm starting off with a very egocentric self-congratulations that you're even on this site. Congratulations. You've discovered the first and only remote patient monitoring system for urology. More data means more confident diagnoses. So this is what it does. Today, the old way is that you give a patient this commode hat to void into. Then she's supposed to basically squat, see where the level is, then get out a piece of paper and write down how much she voided, pour it into the bowl, wash out the thing, and then hide it back in her cabinet. She's sure as heck not going to take this to work or a restaurant or to watch her grandkids. She's going to either A, not leave her house for 3 days, or B, blow it off. This thing is basically the size of my hand. So this all goes away because there's a chip in here, an RFID chip that as soon as the void is complete, it sends the data to the cloud where the physician has not data but information in a real report. So this goes away, and she can bring her little purse with her to work. It's for men as well, and use it and not be interrupted. This, so he invited me down to Tennessee about a week ago. Oh, not a week, it's 3 weeks ago now. And we had some time between shoots, and I said, let's just talk. And God bless our cinematographer, Anthony, who was willing to walk backwards for 20 minutes. It was my first walk-in talk. I was excited about it. I don't think you'll be able to hear it. It was a 24-minute video, and I'll shut off the sound and you can read the words. This goes at the heart of last year's most important message that I had for my clients, and that is to record yourself all the time. Because I'll offer that right now, me recording myself in my natural environment, dog on lap, just doing what I do, talking about marketing, this, for anyone watching it, will tell them far more about my ability, my demeanor, if we'll be a good fit, than any blog post that took me 5 hours to write. In these last 7 minutes, I've communicated more to the potential customer of mine, whether I'll be a good fit for them, than anything, the most cumbersome thing I've ever written last year. I'm just doing what I do. And that's true for each of you. When Rick talks about design, when Mike talks engineering, when Andre talks manufacturing, you're just doing your job. You're not sitting there and writing a blog post. You're not thinking, how am I going to share and get a lead? You're just being you and doing your thing. And that's what your future prospects and customers want. Do you know what you're doing? I'm offering, I think I know what I'm doing by showing you what I do. So I took these 20 some odd minutes and boiled it down to how did this thing come about? And this says basically, if you were not reading the words, that he's a urogynecologist and he faced this problem tens of thousands of times where somebody either didn't void all the time because they went out, or well, Mr. Smith, good evening. That's you, Ion. I say Mr. Smith because you said that your last name is like Smith. And I was like, I've never met a Yilmaz before. You don't have your sound on. We can't hear your wonderful accent, whatever it may be.
I look at this and I have one major question as a user.
What's that?
How do you clean it so you can put it back? I don't see that in there.
I have that answer, but I didn't think for strategic, it was the most important thing to put on the homepage.
Somewhere you could see it, because as a woman, if I had to use this, I want to know how I can clean it easy.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and I'll think about it. I don't know. I'll ask the other female on the call. Was that screaming out at you? How would I clean that thing?
I wouldn't put it back in my purse, which is kind of what you're advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Especially
answer
taking
is,
it out.
I actually, let me call this up, and it will be elsewhere. So we shot lots of video, and this is the Deborah at 2 in the morning video. So nocturia is another condition that we can diagnose now, because oftentimes if you go to the bathroom at 2 in the morning, you're either not going to deal with that commode hat, or you're certainly not going to get out a pencil and write this down. So in the morning, you might say, I peed 3 times last night. I did a little, I did a lot.
Okay, so that's already gross.
Mm-hmm.
That is your choice in your
But
bathroom.
no, it's gross because they sit on top of her hand towel.
You rinse it out. And if she knows that she's going to the bathroom at 2 in the morning, she doesn't need to put it in her pouch. If you want to put it in your pouch, put it in your pouch. If you want to be concerned that 3 people are coming to that bathroom later.
So
But
I'm more concerned, like if I'm out to lunch or something and I need to use this while I'm out in public, like how do you?
same thing.
I don't want to walk out of the stall and clean it in the sink at the public bathroom.
Okay, but maybe if you're at work, you would.
Depends upon the bathroom at
To
work.
be sure, I'm not, I mean, it's fair enough, and this hadn't come up, so you make a fair point, but I can say with almost absolute certainty that if you were to remotely consider this, you sure as hell wouldn't go to a restaurant with that. So if you faithfully wanted to do it for 3 days, you might say, I'll make the exception and wash this thing in a public bathroom. You might not, but the chasm between these two, I think, is significant enough.
Yes.
Anyhow, so here I say click for the full interview. Where you not only get the whole thing, but I show you that there's a video transcript here. And I click here and it expands where you could read this in 2 minutes as opposed to watching it for 13. And I call out the most important points that he made on the call, which is even better than what you can do in the there's no way that I know of without spending gross amounts of money to put the words out every time that something important happens. And then when you're done, this goes on, but someone who's willing to buy him would read it. You can collapse it again, just like that. So this is the need section. Why does this thing exist? It exists because it'll give you better diagnoses for overactive bladder. And once again, you can read more about OAB, open and collapse. I was the male model here, and I look like shit, boy. But you know what? The guy going to the urologist, he's probably got a little bit of extra weight and losing his hair. That's not the point here. He needed a guy, so that was me. And here too. And to my surprise and delight, he even let me go. Michelle will recognize this me becoming very Joe-ish, and he let it stay. I said, why do so many urological clinical trials fail? They fail because we place all the burden on the patients. In essence, we say, dear patient, please stay home. We need you to stay home for the next 3 to 7 days so you can void in the commode hat we have provided. Use commode hat, void in the commode hat every time. Then squat down, squint, and see how much you voided. Fill in a chart, get out the oft photocopied sheet we provided and write in the time, date, fluid intake in milliliters or blah, blah, blah. Thank you, your clinical organization team. And I say now, all they have to do is void and put it away. Evidence, same thing with you can click here and go to see all the evidence. And the point here is not that you read all of this, but to go, oh my God, okay, I get it, I get it, I get it. There's plenty of evidence. That's all we need to communicate on this page. And then the other pages Joey has to finish, to be honest with you. FAQs, same thing with the opening and closing business. How do you turn it on and off? How do you clean it? And I can put the videos in there too. I just haven't yet. So that happens to be open because as soon as we finish this call, Joey has to finish this site because it's due. And he has a big meeting on Monday, which if he joins the call, everyone say, happy birthday. He turns 65 on Monday and he has a major conversation that day. So maybe that'll be a big surprise for him. Okay. I'm going to start in the absence of your questions on LinkedIn because as you all appreciate, A, we've met on LinkedIn, and B, it's where your prospects most likely are. I'm going to show you some of the things that I do to, that's funny, to make this work as well as it does for me. Okay, so I'm going to start with, right now, I don't have anyone looking to connect with me because I took care of this all yesterday. Are all of us connected? I think we all are. We're all first connections here. Okay, I'm gonna make believe that my wife Beth just asked to link with me. So how can I do this? if I go and I accept if I go and accept her as a, here, I can do it this way. Network. I'll just show you the last one I did, I guess. Okay, here are my connections. Come on. Okay. All right, great. And this is a great example too. Tony is the last person with whom I connected. He invited me to connect with him. So once I accepted his invitation, this said accept. I accepted his invitation. I sent him a message. And let me see if I can go down and find it. The exchange, there we go, great. Okay, this is the message that I sent him. And I'm gonna show you exactly how I did it. So I'm gonna open a new one here. And I'm gonna write Beth, who basically is a shadow account for me because she never gets on. Okay. I get to try out. In fact, this isn't a bad idea for you either. Go set up a Yahoo email account for yourself. If you're really into this, most of you won't do this, I get it. Michelle might. But set up a dummy account, and you can test out what things will look like when you send a message to that dummy account. So I do that with her to see how things are going to lay out all the time. I do it again and again and again and again because the way things look are important. Okay, I've taught a lot of you about this before, but I'll do it again. This is a tool called Beef Text. Beef. It's what's dinner, beef text. And what it is a word expander. And I will open one. I'll just do it here. So when I become friends with somebody new for the first time, my key for Beef Expander is ZZ. That lets Beef Expander know I'm about to give it a code. And in exchange for that code, I want it to give me some language. I say ZZWH for why did you connect with me? ZZWH. In exchange, magically, it gave me this entire thing, which I have written in the past. And Beef Text accepts bolding and emojis. So it really looks like I actually typed this. And even if I didn't, it's like, okay, that's pretty impressive. So now I just type in her name, Beth. Thanks for inviting me into your network. I was intrigued by your, this is the only part that requires a little bit of homework. And Michelle, this is new. I just started doing this because even, actually I have to do up here. You have to visit the person and see something unique about them and fill in that sentence to be like, I actually looked, as opposed to, hi, I'd like to sell you something. And this is the standard thing that I say to everyone. I was intrigued by your world's largest medical device community. I was intrigued by how incredibly handsome your husband is. And I just delete this. Why did you choose to add me today? I do 3 things. I can help you with your consulting. I can be a thought leader. You can join Premium. You can come to one of my conferences. Did you connect with me for one of these reasons? Which one? Please write back. Tell me about you and, importantly, how I may be helpful for you. Click. So what the hell is going on? Okay. So I visited her profile, found out that she leads the world's largest blah, 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 put in her name, and I said, I checked out your profile and actually cared. This is what I do. You reached me, presumably for some reason. Was it because I'm handsome, gorgeous, or intelligent? Oh, it's intelligent. Tell me more about how my intelligence can help you, and let's do business together. Do this. It works. Because, and this is just, honestly, it's 3 days old. I've been doing this for 8 years now, but it took me until 3 days ago. It's so evolutionary and iterative until you find something that works. I wrote this to Tony, and I looked at his profile, and he actually has something interesting that I really was intrigued about. And he does some, let's see, I would like to hear about your National Institute of Mental Health Research. I really would. But why did you choose to add me? He responds, John, let it go. John, it was a general interest because of this and that. And I said, let me do something nice for you. Be my guest on today's call if you like, it's free. Each of you, sure, Rick, each of you is welcome to invite someone that you're trying to work with to these calls. It's a one-time courtesy. They'll see you in your natural environment. They'll think, thank you, you did something for me that was free and nice. I might get a new subscriber, and it's just goodwill. I said, we've just met. I don't know this guy. I'm interested in you. Why don't you come join me on a call? Love to, but maybe I can make a future one. Okay. Next one is, and next week is not on Friday, it's on Thursday. Thursday at this time, we're going to talk about the FDA Case for Quality Initiative. There we are. That's how I engage someone who reaches out to me on LinkedIn. Similarly, when somebody joins the great big group, and this is not relevant for you, but I do the same thing. Actually, Anne, my virtual assistant. If any of you need a virtual assistant, Anne is the best. She's the best. She does so much for me. Anything that is repetitive, except me, I'm repetitive, and administrative, she can handle. So I have 319 people looking to join this group right now. I don't know what's happening, that it's beginning to grow again. But the fact that it's been a year and 4 months since LinkedIn shut off the spigot, and I've lost 3,000 subscribers since then. It's a miracle. Come on. Richard is the CEO of Procedure Products. Let's go to one that here's a CRO. That's definitely relevant. First thing Anne does for me is she sends him a message. ZZWQ. Jordan. Send. Approve. Next. And in so doing, I've already told Jordan that, yeah, thanks for joining this, but I'm not hanging out here. Go to medicaldevicesgroup.net. There's a thing called premium. Why don't you come to a show? How can I help you? I have a vast network, blah, 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 blah. I have 300 people that can discover more about me and my value proposition based on this group. And that's just this big group. Then I have like 70 subgroups that I basically ignore now. That's something worth mentioning for you. So I expect few people will get this far in the call. I have all these subgroups, and this page, I'm putting it in the GoToMeeting. This page is the only place where you can find all of them on one page. That is, there are even more than these. Yeah, there are even more than these. These are the ones that have any kind of size to them worth thinking about. There were some, like somebody asked me to start one for like, I don't know, Sacramento, and it got 70 people. I'm like, oh, forget it. If you are interested in any of these specialties, these locations, these interest categories, or these places outside the US, tell me. And you can be the manager of these groups on LinkedIn. What does that involve? Frankly, nothing, because they're dead. But just as surely as I can send a message out to the great big group and notify the group, not send an email anymore, I can just notify them that I have written something. I'll show you what that's like. Let's go to one that's really empty. This will take a sec. By the way, you're seeing I'm running ZZ sub. I have hundreds of these ZZs. I don't type anything anymore. If you had any idea how many times I had to type the words medical device, that's ZZML. I don't type that anymore. So let me go here, edit page, and find a really, really small one. Oh, maybe I have, no. Oh, I must have, okay, no longer supported here. Arizona, hey, Arizona. You can have Arizona. All 110 of you. Come on. The last thing I wrote was a year ago. Closing group. Nobody gave a shit. I can start a conversation in the group and say, hey.
I'm in Arizona, and I had no idea you had an Arizona group.
Well, that's because there were 106 people besides you who cared. While we no longer actively support this subgroup, why don't you all stop on by medicaldevicesgroup.net, where we have kept the conversation going. While you're there, consider joining MDG Premium. And I'm going to talk, you notice how this just popped up, this image? There's a reason for that too. And this is super important. In fact, one of the journeys I would have written if I were still as diligent about writing them is how important it is for the way things look when you share them online. There's a way this happens. We can talk about that now if you want. You've all been a very obedient and attentive audience. No one's talking, so I'm just going to keep blathering until you redirect me. So I'm going to hit post. This is now live, and as the manager of this group, I have the unique privilege of doing the following. Pay attention, Michelle. Click here and recommend this post. You can recommend a post once every 7 days to the second. If you're a second early, it will say, you must wait 7 days. How long is it until 7 days? I'm not going to tell you. Why is that? Because LinkedIn, I understand. Recommend. Group members will be notified about this post. So that's going to show up just as like this red dot here. There's going to be like a 1 here for those folks. And it will say something like that, but it's more than that. There's like, well, of course I'm not going to, no, that's not it either. Okay, here. This isn't exactly it, but close. This was featured in, or there's a new announcement from the group, and it will go in people's notification. Now, as nice as that is, it's a fraction of what it used to be when I could actually send an email to everybody, because in order for you to see this notification, you A, have to be on LinkedIn, and B, so frequently that when you finally do show up on LinkedIn, it doesn't say that you have 500 notifications, which you ignore. So it's for more active people, but it works to the degree that it works, because this is the way I track my announcements and have done for 8 years. This is the link I used to share the last announcement. And there's, I believe, no possible way, when this finally resolves, come on, that anything on LinkedIn in a group is going to earn 153 likes and 40 comments, unless people are aware of it. And if you just went to the group now, you'd have to scroll for quite a while to find this thing. You're not going to do that. It's just not worth it. So why did I bring up all of that? I brought up all of that because any of you on the phone who want any of these subgroups to be a manager of, so that you can do what I just did, something as little as, hey y'all, I'm going to be in Tempe next week if anyone's there, then you can let your fellow Arizonans know. If 2 of them show up and 1 of them shakes your hand and says, here's a $10,000 check, you're my new best friend, I only ask for 80% of that money, which I think is fair, because that's $2,000 you would never have had. Any questions so far? Anything you guys want to talk about? And I have to shut my window. Okay, either I'm fascinating and you're all in stunned silence, or you're bored. Which is it? I'm going to go with fascinated unless you tell me otherwise.
It's interesting. I just don't do that kind of stuff too much, but I'm going to check out that beef text. That sounds interesting.
You don't need to, you can use it anywhere. Like you're filling in a form.
Yeah.
And you need to give them your address. You say ZZADR, and there's my address. I don't even type my fucking name anymore.
The importance of having somebody to do this for you. And I think that this is largely why we pay people like you and Leslie and Ann to help us, because I don't think any of us are the social media types. And I certainly don't have the bandwidth. And when we started doing this, it just got so big, so fast to follow all these rules and be consistent with it, that there is no way I could run my business and be consistent with this approach. Because my business is not marketing. Your business is marketing. That's your job all day long, every day. And so without Leslie, this wouldn't be possible for me. But it's wildly successful.
It would not. I say it this way. One is you can write off these last 45 minutes as a great big Hire Joe commercial. Or what is more likely is that those of you with smaller budgets and are frankly afraid of the Pandora's box we might open if people actually started responding to you, then yeah, you need help. And it doesn't have to be expensive Joe help. I mean, Michelle pays Joe, and then she has Leslie, and I have Ann. There are different levels of support, and something like let 319 people into the medical devices group by sending them the same message every time. Ann can do that. And before I took the leap back in October of 2017 to get a virtual assistant, Joe did that. Tens and hundreds of thousands of times to grow the group to be as large as it was. Was it worth it? It was worth it. But it's even more worth it when I just say, hey, Ann, we have 200 people looking to get in the group. If you could please look at that. Guys, get an assistant. Get an assistant. All right.
It's probably been right around 2 years now, with 1 year with a very significant online LinkedIn presence. And part of what Leslie does is use my calendar link, which Joe also set up for me, and say, you know, put time on my calendar if I can be helpful after she does all that stuff and have a dialogue with these people. I've had 143 people put time on my calendar to have follow-up conversations.
Would anyone like 143 follow-ups?
No.
Yep.
I know. God, I'm retired. She needs to
bring them on.
But
by the way, I sent you a message in the group chat.
You left one to me?
To Jan.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Ugh. I don't even know which of my family members' alarm that is. Can you hear it? It's annoying the hell out of me. Oh, good. They shut it off. Do you mind if I open up your LinkedIn, Michelle?
That's fine.
Okay. So for my convenience, Michelle is my default. Actually, I think it's Michelle. It's another LinkedIn page that I have on a different browser, so I don't have to bother logging out as me and logging in as someone else. Okay, yeah, it's Michelle. And that's a real conversation with a fellow MDG person. But I'll scale away from that and go to looks like you've had some real conversations here, and these aren't very Leslie-ish.
That one's an actual customer. But almost everything else should be Leslie.
So she set up how does Monday, February 11th? That was her?
Hold on, I didn't see that one. I need to go back and read that.
Okay, well, this could have been, it's hard. I mean, a really good assistant, one that gets your kind of cadence, becomes hard to know who's who. What I was looking for, I expected a lot more of. When Michelle posts something, I don't have a ZZ ready for it, but, oh, we want to meet your wife, Monir, bring her back. Monir's wife. Go get her. You're the only Monir on the phone.
Oh, she's busy. Actually, she's looking for something, so don't worry.
Okay. When Michelle posts something and somebody leaves a comment, Leslie will write them a private note saying something like, thanks for liking my little video, or thanks for liking my little comment, and build on that. It says I'm paying attention to the fact that you paid attention, which brings me to my #1 piece of advice for the year. I didn't think it was going to change, and I didn't think it was going to change last year. And this is what I said on the live broadcast that I did 2 days ago, so I'll keep it real brief. If you choose to go watch it, it starts at 40 minutes. My #1 piece of advice for 2018 was about content shock. And that is, if you're going to open your mouth, say something worthwhile in your own voice. Because to write a piece that says, you know, MedTech is going through a lot of change. Now with the device tax, everyone is watching their pennies and dollars. You've wasted my time and said absolutely nothing there. And if you're going to continue on for paragraphs, don't think that I needed to write a blog post today to keep my search engines. Nobody cares about that shit. We don't have time for it. It's not about you, it's about us. Either you're going to say something relevant or don't say anything at all. And as a corollary, you've got to say something or no one will know you exist. If you just don't do any of this stuff because that's not your thing, then A, you have plenty of word of mouth, B, you don't have enough business, or C, you wish you had more business but don't know how. You either produce this stuff or get someone to produce it for you. And the latter is hard and expensive.
Hey, Joe, I've got a question.
Yeah.
I get regular emails from, you know, one of our members, and they're always, it makes me not want to send out emails because it's always just like, yeah, I know you're great. I know you were great last time. I'm sure you're great next time, and I'm sure you're great this time. But I'm trying to find some balance so that maybe forget balance. I'm just trying to figure out how do I figure out how to get people something that they really need, regardless of the fact of whether I'm saying how great I am. You know, that's how do we focus on that?
I'm going to take a dark turn to answer your question, okay?
Dark turn, okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to use this for illustrative purposes only, so please don't take this to heart or be offended, okay?
Okay, ready.
Wow, okay, I'm bracing myself.
I am.
How did you discover me? How did we become friends, you and I?
I think it was either I was looking at something on 10X or something on the group, and you responded to me.
Okay, and it doesn't matter what the response was because it was probably 8 years ago. You're one of my oldest connections from this group.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was just a friendly, hello, how can I help?
Okay. If I were to go into my QuickBooks and calculate how many dollars have left the Stockton organization and gone to the Hage organization by ticket sales to 10X, it would be in the thousands.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're paying me however many dollars a month to be part of this thing. What have I actually given you? What have I actually done for Rick?
How long do you want me to go?
Well, I appreciate that sentiment, but the point is that in its rawest business form, again, I'm being dark and deliberately kind of self-deprecating, I've strung you along long enough to get you to be interested in my wares and buying my stuff. Now, you know me better than that. That's not the real thing, but I do have to support my family. And in the likely event you come to 10X, I will get more money into my pocket. Why? Because you have come to believe, again, Dark, I've led you to believe that I give a shit about Rick Stockton. Do I? You think I do? But I have led you to believe that through my words, actions, gestures, smile, whatever, that I care about you. The answer to your question is, people don't care about you until you show you care about them. So if you're going to write some shit, that doesn't show me you care about me. I have personalized my communication with you to a degree that you believe that I'm actually talking to you. Do you have any idea, now for real, do you have any idea if I've copied and pasted that shit 1,000 times using ZZ blah, blah, blah?
I use a similar tool. I have no idea.
You don't. But here we are, and you believe that I care about you.
Not because of that, but it certainly helped get the conversation going.
Yeah. So the answer is, be yourself. And if you really don't care about people, that'll come through. It just so happens that it works nicely for me, and it's a real blessing for me for what I do. I really like helping people, even if they don't give me money. And I don't know a ton of people who do that. And it comes through so that those people who choose to give me money do so knowing that I'm not going to screw them over, and I really want to make sure that I spend their money wisely. And I never want to earn a dollar I don't earn, that I don't deserve. And I'll give it back to you if you feel that I haven't. But all of that is part of the Joe Hage brand. Could I screw someone over, get a $5,000 sponsorship to 10X and underdeliver? Absolutely, I could, but I wouldn't. And Michelle and I know a certain someone who took her $3,000 and let her sponsor something and vastly underdelivered, and then fought her tooth and nail on whether they were going to ever get that email or whatever happened to that list. And it's someone that we knew well and in common, and I was like, dude, you can't treat people like that. And he went on about, well, she blah 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 blah. Neither she nor I work with that individual anymore. Did he make 3,000? Sure did. And now we're being polite and not using his name. But if anyone ever asked, whatever, would you recommend John Smith? I would say, do me a favor, stay far away from John Smith.
Sure.
So thanks for indulging me. Just kind of, the answer is there's no proxy for actually giving a shit about people. And so if you communicate with people in a way that says that I'm paying attention, that is the lesson of the year. It's more than writing a blog post, and it's more than last year's record yourself, because you never know when you're going to say something smart. Like I said earlier, the first 7 minutes of this recording said more about my ability to market something than any blog post I'll write this year. And all I did was sit here, have coffee, and talk with my friends and record it. You can do that. You can record everything you do. And sometimes, even when it's like super sensitive, I can't, that's client confidential. Even that is usable. For example, when I hired Nick Anderson on behalf of a client, the client paid him $350 for the hour. We talked specifically about reimbursement potential for that specific item. And I went to the client afterward and I said, that was so valuable and so universal, would you mind if I took the audio from that call, cut around it, and bleeped out your category and product entirely so that no one would know what we were talking about, and let the rest of it play? And it's one of the most downloaded, listened to things I've ever produced, because he gave $350 worth of value to an audience that paid nothing for it. And it was a recorded call that he was compensated for. So the next time you're having a call with a client and you're talking about, and Rick, I can't even say, besides validation and verification or some kind of engineering bullshit that that I know nothing about, when you say it, it sounds really smart. Like you know what you're talking about. When I say it, I sound like an idiot. But people who would hire you would want to know, does he say the things that sound like he knows what he's talking about? And if you were to play a portion of a call with redactions and say, just listen to this call I was having with a client, then it'd be like, I can relate to that guy. He has the demeanor that works for me. He certainly knows what he's talking about. And, that's content for you to share. Take that and put it up. Here's another thing that I started doing. So I'm in Michelle's case here. I'll go over here. If you have heard, listened to, seen, I created a new podcast called Eavesdropping on Joe Hage. And what? Okay, there we are. And all it is let's see, each of these 3 calls, no, Karen wasn't. These 2 calls was me driving to pick up Lucas from school. Me having a phone conversation. Oh, we want to meet little Monier. Who's that?
Yeah, it's my son. So, Aiden.
Aiden?
Aiden, yeah.
Doesn't do much talking.
No, it's just has his shower, so he's a bit quiet now.
How old?
1 year.
Sweet. And how many kids do you have?
40.
3?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if they can be guests on the show too, if they want.
I'll try to bring them, yeah.
Yes, please. What was I saying? Oh, so these were phone calls, and I recorded them, and then I just cut around them, and this is content. Phone calls that I had. And then I found a new application called Headliner. Well, I'm not going to open that now, but I'll open it over here. You all have access to this folder, by the way. And this is,
so a lot of times when
I'm going to shut the sound.
we would
This is her voice, and I have what they call a VTT file. I don't really know what it stands for. It's like a text file, but it's for voice, and it tracks along with the sound. So sometimes you've seen people that have like the sound wave, like they show 2 static people and there's a sound wave indicating that they're talking. This is better because most people scroll with the sound off. And if the beginning of this thing catches your attention, you might actually go, let me listen to this.
I need you to teach Leslie how to do this, because I took last year's advice and record almost everything.
Yay.
But all the video and whatnot doesn't always come out nice and usable.
Okay. Yeah, I love this new tool, and it's free.
And you can make me one of those.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to decide what you want your thing to be.
You're the creative force here.
Yes, I know, sweet, but I can't photograph you here in my house. So you're going to need to take a photo that we use as a proxy for this stuff. Or you could go the other way and you can just like use your logo kind of stuff. I also have the medical devices group one, and that's the more serious one that when I have the bandwidth, I can take all of the webinars and all of the presentations from 10X. This was a Rob webinar, and I just took the audio file and I made it into a podcast. I've only done just so few so far. They can be time consuming. I don't expect anyone on this call to do this themselves. This is when you outsource, and I have to outsource it too, most of the time. Sometimes I just get into it and it's fun for me, so I do it myself. The truth is, if I didn't do what I do, I probably couldn't afford to have what I have. Said another way, if I were to attempt to pay me for the hours I spend marketing me, I would not be able to afford me. So don't think that either A, it's really cheap, or B, that you're going to scale like this, but you can still do some of this stuff. Some of it you can do by yourself. Some of it you can outsource to either me or somebody far less expensive than me, as long as you know what to tell them. So in Michelle's case, we typically spend maybe an hour a week. We're not faithful every single week, but we typically meet. She pays top dollar for that Joe Hage time, but we come up with ideas that can be executed by Leslie, who is paid a fraction of my rate. And there are things that I can execute for her that I can have Ann do that's a fraction of the rate. So, you know, if you choose, for example, to engage with me, spend time on, let's talk about your business, your strategy, your primary message, what you need to say, who you want to say it to. Let's come up with a way to do that. And then let's think of ways to outsource that to less expensive resources to make it happen. I guess that's as fitting a place for me to stop talking as any. Clearly, I live and breathe this stuff. I love my work. I enjoy it very much. It lets me be creative and it lets me be administrative insofar as making sure a project gets delivered on time and all those things. But if there's any place you want to take this conversation now, let me know. Otherwise, we'll let the kind people who may have chosen to watch this broadcast later on return to their busy days. Bueller? Okay, before we close, do you pronounce it Ion?
No, it's Yon.
Yon, thank you. This is
Yon
Jan's first time with us. That means that Jan
It was very interesting.
This means that you are given the privilege of an advertisement. Please tell us about Jan. What does he do? Why is he here? How can we help him?
He's about to go cook dinner, but before then, I am a business transformation consultant, and I work primarily, but not exclusively, with US multinationals that operate in Europe. I am Swiss. I have an English accent, which is annoying, but I can't do anything about it.
We enjoy it.
But I don't enjoy it. But I live in Istanbul in Turkey. I have a company here in Turkey and I have associates. We offer transformation services to companies wanting to digitalize their businesses. I personally specialize in manufacturing, quality, and asset maintenance. I've worked with 3 large medical device companies, Stryker, Beckman Coulter, and I've done several projects now for Integra Life Sciences. So feel free to reach out for me for any advice within the manufacturing area, quality area, processes, systems, etc. And I'll be happy to oblige.
I accept your offer. What are you doing 2 weeks from today?
Probably the same as I'm doing today.
Then you'll be the featured guest on the 20th. Instead
Okay.
of, so I blathered today about marketing and stuff, you blather about transformational, digital, whatever you just said, and educate us. Okay?
Okay, I'll try. I'll get something prepared.
Now, speaking of which, we haven't, let's see, we've had a Jan, we've had a Michelle. Andre, we haven't had you be the special guest yet. You want to be the 27th?
Okay, sure.
Actually, you know what, Jan, why don't we, since you're in Istanbul, why don't we make
Yes.
yours not 2 weeks from today? Why don't we do it at like 10 a.m. your time? I'll stay up until 1 a.m. And that way we can accommodate the other half of the world. We have a half dozen folks in Australia, Germany, London, Paris. You know, it doesn't have to be Monir's son's bedtime next time. So why don't we do Thursday, the, let's see, 14th, 17th. No, 17th is Ron. So Ron Leopold is going to speak in 2 weeks, and he is he's helping companies that want to go and hit the employee benefit market. So, and then Thursday is George is going to talk to us about the FDA Case for Quality initiative. So our big lineup: Case for Quality, employee benefits, whatever the hell Jan does, and whatever the
Business
hell Andre
transformation.
does. That's your big lineup for January. How's that sound? Okay, friends. Oh, by the way, Jan, I don't know what your situation is, but if you can hop a flight over to London, Michelle and I are going to be there on the 17th of February, as will Phil and Joe and Monir, and I think Luke is going to come. So I'm hoping that as many and 2 folks from Verpe's group are coming. I'm hoping to meet as many of you. First, are you a hugger? I don't know. I'm a hugger, so just let me know ahead of time, and maybe we can meet in person. That would be lovely.
That would be very good. I have to admit, I try and avoid the UK at all costs, but if
This whole
in
Brexit thing is
February I
bad.
can make it. Sorry?
The Brexit thing, I'm with you.
No, I have no interest in Brexit or England at all.
Let me let you return to your days. I'll stop the recording, but I'm here, although I really should be focused on Brent's site because it's due. And
Okay.
why don't you know what would be fun? Each of you send him a message on Premium and say happy birthday. He's 65 on Monday. Can Morty do that? Maybe send him a doggy pic with a birthday hat on?
Send who?
Send it to Brent Lang.
I could probably work that out.
All right.
That could at least have a elf hat I can put on him. But I was showing him to Aiden.
Oh,
Hey, Aiden, you see puppy Aiden? Aiden's already like half asleep. He's like a zombie.
How do you spell Aiden's name? How do you spell Aiden's name?
Monir.
A-I-D-A-N?
A-D-I-N-E.
Ah,
you French.
Edinson, like Edinson, but Edin at the end. With the E.
By the way, when are you going back to France? The very next day or the night of the 17th? Because we're going to Paris the very next morning.
I don't know. I have a customer appointment in England, so I have to check if I go to the customer before the event and then I come to the event, or after the event. So I'm trying to organize that now.
And you're far from Paris, so you can't like be our tour guide.
I'm more near to Germany, Switzerland, so I'm in the Basel area. So it's
Yeah. Okay.
the cross Germany, Switzerland, France. So.
Manir, I might be moving to Basel in a year and a half.
No way.
Really?
What on earth?
With Count.
Of
For his
course,
job.
with Count.
Because of Count.
What's happening?
They want him to take a corporate role, which means they want us to either go to Indianapolis, Branchburg, New Jersey, or Basel, and I refuse to live in Indianapolis or New Jersey.
I can see New Jersey. I mean, not with Andre, but
No, you'll enjoy
that's
Switzerland.
supposed
Switzerland
to
is
be
a
a
great
pretty good
country.
place,
So
eh?
enjoy.
What's Basel's like the mothership for his company. So if we're going to
What's
go
it
somewhere, I
company?
might as well do
Is it
that.
Nova? Is it
What's the
So
Novartis?
Ramir and I can plan to join forces.
What's the company?
Is it Novartis?
Roche.
Ah,
Roche?
Roche. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, they build a big building here, so it's like a skyscraper building with it looks like stairs, so you see that from far from in the country. So
I don't
one of
like the
the
idea of you moving so far away.
Well, it was a coincidence that you did the thing in London, and that's kind of why I pushed you, because I know I need to start setting myself up for the European business.
So you're responsible for this.
Reach out.
Mhm.
One of the smartest packaging engineers I know works for Roche there in Basel, so I'll have to
You
make
don't
sure
work
you.
in Basel though.
No, I don't. I just work with her.
He
Smartest packaging.
he was giving you a compliment. By the way, Rick, did you see? Michelle, I am under the impression that Michelle cares about me, but she manipulated me into doing a conference to further her own self-interest. This is what I'm talking about.
Very clever,
It's
Michelle.
win-win, Joe. Look how many people on the call benefited from my selflessness.
Can we all hear it from Michelle?
Hey.
Happy New Year, everyone. I enjoyed this
Happy New
very
Year.
much. See you
Bye.
on Thursday, not Friday next week.
Thursday.
Bye
At
for
1
now.
a.m.
No, that's a regular call. That's an 8 a.m. Pacific.
Okay.
I'll put out the schedule. Bye
Yeah,
for now.
please.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy New Year.